Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Taco, and today we're back with another video. And free agency, the biggest part of it's mostly gone. There's still a couple people that are left to sign, mainly some running backs and receivers, but most of the main people are gone. So there are 75 guys that have signed that I feel like I should grade based on the fact that they're either going to mean a lot or they just got paid a crap ton of money. So let's get into it. This was made Saturday night in case if, there's some signings that have happened. And so, yeah, let's get right into it. Starting with the QB, Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100 million. I just gave this a B. I think that it's not an upgrade from Geno Smith, but you're also going to be paying less for him than if you had Geno Smith. We know what Sam Darnold is. We saw him last year thrive in a new system. I think that we're going to see a happy medium. He's not going to be what he was last year, but he's not going to be back to old Sam Darnold, all right? I think for the Seahawks, you're getting a quarterback. It's okay. You're not taking a step backwards. It's all right. It's a B. Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. This gets a B+ from me. For the New York Jets, you're getting a quarterback. You're getting a guy who has some hope. I feel terrible for Justin Fields, who has to go from the Bears to the Jets. But the Jets are getting a quarterback. He's going to bring some hope to the team, bring some hope to a market. And I think that he could be your guy. What he showed in Pittsburgh last year was pretty good. If he builds off of that, this could be a really good pickup for the New York Jets, who we saw have the supporting cast. It just kind of didn't work last year. Daniel Jones got 1 year, $14 million. I'm giving this a C-. It's just not very much a good deal for a guy that you want to be your backup quarterback. If he has to come in there, if A-Rich just sucks, then it's going to have to happen. That sucks. But I don't want Daniel Jones there. I especially wouldn't want him over like a Cooper Rush or a Jameis Winston. So, yeah, I just don't really see why the move here to C-. And it's a lot of money for a backup. Moving on to the running backs, Najee, 1 year, $9.5 million. He gets a B+. I really like the fit with the Chargers for him because we know the Chargers are a run-it-down-your-throat team. That's what Jim Harbaugh wants to be. And getting a guy like Najee who fits that perfectly is going to be great. You got him for an all-right price. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent move. It's a B+. Aaron Jones re-signs, 2 years, $20 million. I gave it a B. Aaron Jones is a pretty decent running back. I don't really see a sign of him falling off, really. And, $10 million a year, it's pretty decent for a decent guy. I'm fine with the price. I'm fine with the system. He played good in Minnesota last year. I don't see why it doesn't continue. It's a decent signing. It's a B. Javonte Williams going to the Cowboys. This is going to get an A- from me. $3 million for a guy who you can somewhat trust as a pretty decent back. He's going to have to be your lead back this year, and that's okay. You're not getting a great guy. You're taking yourself out the Ashton Genty sweepstakes, but it's definitely a very good price for a pretty decent back. It's an A-. Rico Dowdle goes to the Panthers. 1 year, it's about $6.5 million. This is a C+. I don't understand the move for the Panthers. You're getting great talent at a pretty decent price. Maybe not great talent, but good talent at a pretty decent price. But you have Jonathan Brooks, you have Chuba Hubbard. Why not want to develop Jonathan Brooks? Why get a guy in there that's definitely your RB2? I just don't really understand the move, but you are getting a pretty good piece, so it's a C+. On to the receivers, starting off with the easy A+ is Chris Godwin. $22 million a year to go and stay with his old team. It's a great fit. We all know it. We all seen Chris Godwin. This was the #1 free agent, pretty much consensusly, going for just $22 million a year at one of the most premium positions. This is a great move for the Bucs. This is an A+. Then you've got Devontae Adams. He got 2 years, $44 million for the Rams. I'll give it a B for the Rams. I think he is an upgrade over Cooper Kupp, especially when it comes to availability. I still think that Devontae Adams has something left in the tank. I do think it's a decent payment for a decent player with some decent talent left. So it's a decent grade. It's a B. Then you've got Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp gets a B+. $15 million for a guy who can be a really good receiver when he stays healthy is very good. The only problem is, one, staying healthy, and two, he's a slot receiver and JSN's a slot receiver. I don't really know how that's going to work, but if they find a way to make it work, it's going to be a very good offense in Seattle. If he works out for just $15 million, I'll take it to B+. Darius Slayton comes back to the Giants, 3 years, $39 million. I know that the Giants have to kind of overpay for the players, but $13 million for a guy who's pretty much your receiver 3, just the super replaceable guy. I don't think that you need to be paying $13 million to. It's a C for me. Dyami Brown, 1 year, $12 million. He gets a C+. This is for the Jags. I think that Dyami Brown could be a pretty solid receiver in this league. He already had some decent games with the Commies. I think that he can build on that in Jacksonville. I would have maybe wanted a longer contract. It's a bit of a high price, but you are getting a good player. It's a C+. It's all right. Demarcus Robinson, 2 years, $9 million to the Niners. This is a solid wide receiver 3 that's going to come into San Francisco and start for only $4.5 million a year. So that's where it gets kind of a tick up. But also, is he really a good wide receiver 3? I don't think so. I think that you could have still drafted there as well. That's why it's a B-, but it still is a good player. D-Hop, 1 year, just $5 million to the Ravens. This is an A-. This is a pretty good deal for the Ravens. You're going to get a veteran receiver. You're going to get an ex-receiver, and I don't really think he fit Kansas City well, but you could still see some flashes with him. He is still DeAndre Hopkins, and I think that he has something left in the tank, and if he can use that in Baltimore, it will be a very good pickup for just $5 million a year for a team that probably needs more of an ex-receiver. Mac Hollins, 2 years, 8.4. It gets a B-. I wanted the Patriots probably to spend bigger in free agency. I think everybody did. But Mac Hollins is a solid receiver. You're getting him $4.2 million a year. When he came in for Buffalo, he did what he needed to do. It's a B-. Mike Williams, $6 million deal, reuniting with the Chargers. This would be, for me, I think that Mike Williams fits well with the Chargers. He fit well with the Chargers, fit well with Justin Herbert. And you're going to retain him back for a pretty decently cheap deal. He didn't have a good year last year, but let's hope that he can rebound. It's a B. Then the tight end, starting off with Evan Ingram. This is an A grade. You're only paying $11.5 million, 2 years, 23, $11.5 million a year for a very decent tight end. Yes, he doesn't block a lot, but you're filling one of your biggest needs, and I think that that's something that the Broncos did a lot this free agency. So one, you can go BPA in the draft, but two, Evan Ingram's going to be a stud, especially for a young QB in Bo Nix that's going to want to throw it shorter more. I think that Evan Ingram was a great pickup for the Broncos. Juwan Johnson, he gets a C-, 3 years, $33 million to return to the Saints. One, the Saints just have to rebuild, all right? This guy's too old. He's not going to really bring somewhat of an upgrade, and also, you're paying him about the same as Evan Ingram money. This Juwan Johnson, this isn't Evan Ingram. It's an overpay for a team that is not in a great fit, isn't going in the right direction with this, so it is a lower grade, but Juwan Johnson can still make it work a little. That's why it's not a D or an F. Mike Gesicki, 3 years, $25 million. He gets a C+. I think that Mike Gesicki is just like a replaceable tight end in 3 years. Seems like a bit of a commitment to him, but you do have a decent tight end in the building. You don't want to let those go. It's a pretty cheap deal. It's only $8 million a year. Let's get him back. It's a C+. It's all right. I just feel like it's replaceable, though. Then the offensive lineman. Let's start off Ronnie Stanley, 3 years, $60 million. This gets a B+. When Ronnie Stanley's on the field, he's one of the best tackles in football. And if you can get one of the best tackles in football for $20 million a year, it's a very decent pickup. Let's hope that you can get that. And yeah, B+. Pretty decent move to re-sign him for the Baltimore Ravens. Dan Moore, 4 years, $80 million. This gets a C-, going to the Titans. He gets a C. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. $20 million's a ton. All right. But you are getting a left tackle. You believe in him. I believe that there's reason to believe in him. And you know, when you get a young quarterback, which I believe that Cam Ward's the pick there now, you're going to need a guy to protect him. So yes, it was a huge deal. Didn't make a lot of sense. I think it's okay. I think it's a C. Alaric Jackson, 3 years, $56, re-signing with the Rams. Good tackles stay when they need to stay because it's hard to find good tackles. That's what you're getting. It seems like a bit of an overpay for a guy that I don't really know who he was. But it does seem like he's a pretty decent tackle. 18 mil, 18, 19-ish. It's a C+. It's all right. Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million, also gets a C+. It seems like a pretty big overpay, but when the Chiefs' biggest problem has been left tackle for a while now, like Orlando Brown was a right tackle. He didn't work last year. They had a ton of guys in there. They maybe don't trust that Kingsley guy. You do need a guy to protect Patrick Mahomes. You had the space to do it. Might as well get the best guy on the board, in their opinion, for that price, and that's Jalen Moore. But it does feel like an overpay. That's why it's a C+. Morgan Moses, 3 years, $24 to the Pats. This gets a B. You're getting a solid offensive tackle for only $8 million a year. It's something that's hard to come by, especially for one of these veteran ones. I thought that he could get, 12 to 14. He only got 8. It's a pretty decent deal, but he is aging. 3 years just seems like a little bit much. But yeah, I do think that he'll be fine. It's a B grade. Will Fries, 5 years, $88 million. This gets a B. The Vikings are committing super long term to this. I believe this was the third highest total monies in the contract. But Will Fries was a great guard with the Colts. The Vikings, they want to protect their young quarterback. That's what they're doing here, Will Fries. It's a lot of money, but I think that it's going to work. It's a B. Aaron Banks, $19 million a year, 4 years, $77 to go to the Packers. This is C-. I think that there are better options out there you can get for a lot less than $19 million, including the guy that we're going to talk about directly after this. But Aaron Banks from the Niners, he was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't anything special. I don't get why $19 million, why you got to pay him that much. And he's older too. Mekhi Becton, this was the guy I was talking about. 2 years, $20 million. This gets an A. First off, no way I'd rather have Aaron Banks and Mekhi Becton, especially for $9 million more a year. I think that it's a steal for only $10 million, and I'm mad that Howie didn't, make his magic work and re-sign him, especially if it only costed 10. But also, Chargers is a great system for him. Run it down your throat. He was a great run blocker. He's huge. Fill up those lanes. Boom. This is an A. It's a great pickup. Patrick McCarry, 3 years, $37.5. This gets a C+. Patrick McCarry doesn't feel like a outstanding guard. He doesn't feel like a good guard. He feels like a average guard, a replaceable guard. And $13 million or $12.5 million is a little much for that. But you are getting a good player. You have a need. You're filling it, especially with the loss of Brandon Sheriff. It's a C+. Drew Dahlman going to the Bears. This gets a B, 3 years, $43.5 million. Drew Dahlman was a very solid center. He's going to the Bears, a team that I think needed a center more than they needed either of those guards. And you get the best one in the market, a great run blocker, a decent enough pass blocker for Caleb. And yeah, again, building that offensive line around that young quarterback, I'll never have a problem with. Another great pickup here was the Vikings signing Ryan Kelly, just $9 million a year. Centers are underpaid in this league, especially because there aren't a lot of them that are going to reset the market every year, especially when guys always just kind of stick with their teams at center. But Ryan Kelly's a great piece. Again, protecting for a young quarterback is what you need. Ryan Kelly provides that. Him and Will Fries are going to keep that duo together. Going from Colts to Vikings, I think it's a very good move. I think it's an A. Kevin Zeitler for the Titans. 1 year, $9 million. This gets a B. Just a 1 year deal for an older guy. I understand that. And then, again, protecting your young quarterback, it seems like it will be Cam Ward. I also 100% agree with that. So, yeah, it gets a B. It's a pretty decent deal. He's older. You could see some regression. But I think he's a very decent player. So, he gets a B. Moving on to defense, let's start off with Josh Sweat. 4 years, $76 million. This gets an A-. Josh Sweat was very good, and in an edge rusher market where, you saw Myles Garrett get 40, you see other guys down here getting 17 and 16 that should not be getting that. Compared to Josh Sweat only getting 19, I think it's a steal of a deal. A-. And for the Cardinals, I think that you're going to want to build that defense through that D-line. We see another D-line move that they make. I think that it's a very good deal for the Cards. Harold Landry is moving to New England. 3 years, $43.5. This gets a C+. I think it's quite a bit of money. And I don't like the Patriots really allocating all of this money on to people that probably, I don't feel like Harold Landry really should be a part of a long-term plan. Reuniting with Mike Vrabel, though, a decent pass rusher, a guy that gets to the quarterback, it's a C+. Malcolm Kuntz, 1 year, $12 million. This gets a C. He was a young pass rusher. You could tell he had a lot of potential. And so re-signing for only 1 year didn't seem like something for the Raiders, especially up at $12 million. But you are getting a guy that gets the quarterback, gets his job done for $12 million a year. It's not terrible. It's a C. Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. This gets a D. This is the first guy to receive $50 million just off of looking cool, off of having aura. He isn't that good, really. He's all right. $17 million a year is way too much for him. And again, the Saints, just rebuild. Stop giving these guys super huge contracts. You're already probably $100 million in debt last year. It makes no sense. It's a D. Khalil Mack, 1 year, $18 million. This is C+. Khalil Mack was a very effective pass rusher. And every year I think, this is the last time Khalil Mack's going to be like this. He's going to fall off. He doesn't, all right? He doesn't. This year just feels like the year, though, But it's just 1 year. $18 million is a pretty decent price for the production. Say that you got the production you get last year. I think it's a decent grade. There's still some issues I have with it, though. That's why it's a C+. Joey Bosa, 1 year, $12 million. This gets a C. If Joey Bosa can be the Joey Bosa we have seen on the field, it can be good, but you're getting up there in age. You've just been injured a lot. Pretty much guarantee he's only going to play about 10 to 12 games this year. There's some problems that I have with it, but he's a great player going to the Bills, 1 year, $12 million. Hassan Reddick, 1 year, $14 million to the Bucs. This gets a B+. If Hassan Reddick works, if Hassan Reddick was the Hassan Reddick he was in Philly, this is great, but it's a very hit or miss thing. That's why I'm cool with 1 year, a cool prove-it deal for Hassan. Going to the Bucs, a team that needs a pass rusher, I think it's a good move. I think it's a B+. Dayo Odeyingbo, $16 million a year, 3 years, $48 million. This gets a C. It's a big overpay. That's what I think. The Bears, you need pass rush, though. You're getting pass rush. That's a good thing. $16 million a year just seems a little much to me for a guy that I didn't really know who he was until I learned that he was going to be massively overpaid this free agency, and that's what happened. DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 years, $33 million to the Seahawks. This gets a C+. You're getting decent production for $11 million a year. I just think for a guy who's 33, I think having a contract until 36 for $11 million a year seems a bit much, but you're getting much needed help on that D-line. You already have good linebackers, have a great secondary. You're really building up that defense. I think that that's a good defense. It's a C+, and I love what he said about Dallas because it was 100% factual. Pat Jones, kind of an underrated guy on the Vikings, went to the Panthers, 2 years, $20 million. This gets a B. I think it's a pretty decent grade. Again, when you have a bunch of pass rushers, the strength is that offensive lines are focused on them. They aren't really focused on you. You're their off rep, and you can get around, you can make the plays. That's not going to happen in Carolina. The weakness is, though, is that you're not getting a lot of play time, and you still ended up with 7 sacks. It's pretty good. I think it's a B for the Panthers. Draymond Jones, 1 year, $10 million. This gets a C+. Pretty decent player for the Seahawks. Got cut. Goes to the Titans. Titans, they always need D-line, especially losing Harold Landry. I think that this will be a decent play for just $10 million a year. I don't know a ton about Draymond Jones, though, and I don't know a ton of what he's really done that's that great. So it's a C+. Dante Fowler, 1 year, $8 million, gets a B. Very good season last year with the Commanders. Very good bounce-back season. Do I see it continuing in Dallas? Ish. There's definitely a world where it does. There's also a world where it doesn't. He did play there before and didn't have that kind of production. Reuniting back in Dallas, I think it's all right. I think it's a B. On that interior D-line, we start now, starting with Milton Williams, 4 years, $104 million. It gets a C+. I think that Milton Williams was great. I don't know why he skyrocketed this high to getting $26 million a year. It just seems kind of unbelievable. For the Patriots, allocating a bunch of money, I know that you have to, especially when you're a bad team. You're going to have to overpay guys. Yeah, I don't see what the great thing was, especially because he was always one-on-one. Now he's going to get double teams. I think it's a C+, but you also are still getting a great young player. Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $51 million. This gets a B+. Jonathan Allen has been a very good defensive tackle, very consistently for a while. I don't see a part of his game that's really fallen off. You're getting him for $17 million a year. We're seeing interior defensive linemen get paid a lot more than that, including the guy, for the production that they produce. Yeah, 51 mil. I think it's a good deal. I think it's a B+. The other Vikings D tackle was Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave, 2 years, $30 million. This gets a C. I don't know how he only gets paid $2 less a year than Jonathan Allen for a guy that did basically nothing with the Niners after being in Philly. But again, with Philly, they had all these pass rushers. We're seeing that again in Minnesota. You have the guys on the outside, now the guys on the inside with Jonathan Allen and him. I think that this is a great situation for him. 15 mil is a little much, though. The Commies get Javon Kinlaw, 3 years, $45 million. I think this is a D+. I don't see with Javon Kinlaw what's great about him. The reason why the plus is there is because there is still some potential that I see. But 15 million for a guy that just hasn't really done much, especially in the run game. We saw what teams like the Eagles did to that run D. I don't see Javon Kinlaw helping a run D. So yeah, it's a D+. Dalvin Tomlinson going to the Cards, 2 years, $29 million. This is a B. I said in the Josh Sweat signing, they're building that team from that D line, getting another good piece in there. A great run stopper. When the Browns played Saquon, he was on the Browns. We could not run up the middle because this guy was clogging it up, man. This guy is a very good run stopper for 14.5 mil. I do just not hear a lot about him, especially in the pass game, though. That's why it's a B. Tershawn Wharton, 3 years, $45 million. I think that this gets a C+. When you're with the Chiefs, you're their off-rep, like what I said with Pat Jones. When you have Chris Jones and then, I get to go up against Tershawn Wharton. I think that that's a lot of what his production came from last year. Also kind of a one-year wonder, I've heard. So, yeah, 15 million a year, I think it's a C+. I think it's a little much. But, yeah, it's a backup plan. And you're also, the way it was with Chris Jones, it's not going to be at the same level. But with Derek Brown, So, yeah, but it's a C+. Grady Jarrett, 3 years, $33 million. This is going to get a C for me. I don't love Grady Jarrett, really. He's a decent run stuffer. That's cool. I think he's old. I think that's a lot of monies. And, yeah, I think that it's a C. It's still an all right move. You're still getting some pretty decent talent, though. B.J. Hill, 3 years, $33 million. This is a B+. B.J. Hill has been a very good interior D lineman. Pass game, run stopping. I remember he had like that one pick one time. So yeah, pretty cool player for a B+. The Bengals, they don't sign a lot of their guys to big monies because their owner's a cheapskate. This was a good one though. It's a B+. Finally, I get to talk about my team. Zach Bond, 3 years, $51 million, a B. In an offseason that's been filled with a lot of sadness. Getting Zach Bond back was huge. Captain of our defense. We don't win a Super Bowl without Zach Bond, point blank. Zach Bond, it gets a B, though. It's a lot of money for an off-ball linebacker, but he gets his job done. Howie does something good. It's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45. This gets a B+. The thing that Nick Bolton has that Zach Bond doesn't is more years of production and also getting less money. Nick Bolton fits perfectly with the Chiefs, the Spags defense. I think that it is a pretty decent pickup. I think that it's a B+ with the Chiefs retaining him. Dre Greenlaw, 3 years, $35 million. This gets a B- for me. If Dre Greenlaw is old Dre Greenlaw, pre-ACL Dre Greenlaw, this is a great move. And when he came back, he wasn't bad, but I don't think that he was pre-ACL Dre Greenlaw. But for the Broncos, you're getting a linebacker that you needed. You lost the guy that we're going to talk about later in this list. So, yeah, I think that it's a good pickup for the Broncos D, getting a guy like Dre Greenlaw, but it still is quite a bit of money. It's a B-. Bobby Wagner, 1 year, $9 million. This gets an A-. Bobby Wagner was a very good linebacker, definitely worth $9 million last year. Now, again, he's gaining another year. He's up to 35 now. Is he going to still be able to do it? We haven't seen a drop-off yet. Might as well not expect one. A-. Pretty good grade for Bobby Wagner. Ernest Jones, 3 years, $28 million. This also gets an A-. Again, another re-sign at linebacker. There's so many of them. But Ernest Jones made plays out there for the Seahawks. He was always getting in there making tackles, even with the Titans before that, and then with the Rams, always getting in there making tackles, a captain of that defense. A-. I think it's a pretty good deal for just $9 million a year. Robert Spillane, 3 for 33, goes to the Patriots. I give this a C+. I think that the Patriots could have went younger at linebacker and just didn't need to spend this $11 million out there for a guy that seems pretty average. I think I'm getting paid a lot more than Ernest Jones is kind of crazy. Not a lot more, but getting paid more than Ernest Jones is kind of crazy. So yeah, it's a C+. Cody Barton, 3 years, 21 mil. That's a B+. He was a very solid linebacker for Denver. A guy that when that D-line was plugging up them holes, he was getting up there and bringing that boom. Okay, he did his job very well in Denver. Pass coverage too. He gets a B+ going to Tennessee. He's going to be the captain of that defense. I think it's going to be a solid move. Moving on to corner, where there were 4 deals, all of the exact same length. Let's start off with the first one, Charvarius Ward, 3 years, 54 mil. He gets a B. Charvarius Ward, lockdown corner with the Niners. Last year, not exactly the same. He had some personal stuff happen. Just not the same corner, though. I do think that he can rebound, though, and be pretty good with the Colts. This is a B. Byron Murphy, this is a B+, same contract again. Byron Murphy, just a very good corner for the Vikings to retain that Brian Flores defense. I think he fits really well in it. And, yeah, this is a B+, very decent corner that you're getting for a pretty decent price. Paulson Adebo, this gets a B-, same contract. Again, with the Giants, you have to overpay guys because you suck. Paulson Adebo, though, I don't see what's exactly so great about him. Like, he's a decent number 1 corner. I believe he was hurt last year. So, yeah, but this is a B-. Carlton Davis going to the Patriots. Same contract. This is a B-. Again, you're getting a guy opposite of Christian Gonzalez, which is good. Again, you're putting a lot of money in the future of guys that I don't know if they should be a part of the future plan. Carlton Davis is one of them, but you are getting a pretty good corner. It's a B+. DJ Reed, how about an A+? 3 years, 48 mil, getting less than all these dudes, and in my opinion, is better than all these dudes. He's also going to a perfect fit with the Detroit Lions. Gritty, tenacious, he gets up there in the run game, very physical, perfect for the Detroit Lions. This is an A+. It's a perfect fit, and for a team that needs a guy on the back end to really help with them, I think it's great, and the Lions need a guy like that if they want to go far this year. Nate Hobbs, this gets a C-. I don't know a lot about Nate Hobbs. I learned that he played in the slot from, looking at a slot corner list like 2 days ago. So, yeah, 4 years, 48 mil. Just a lot of money for a guy that doesn't make a lot of sense. But he is young. He can develop into something. I don't really see why the move, again, with the Packers. Brandon Stevens, this gets a D+. I heard he wasn't that great. And then going to play for the Jets, who don't really need a slot corner, in my opinion. They probably need a guy to replace DJ Reed for 12 mil a year for a guy that Ravens fans don't exactly love. It's a D+. Jordan Lewis got some bank in the slot. 3 years, 30 mil. This is C+. Jordan Lewis, he made some plays with the Cowboys. He was decent enough with the Cowboys where he wasn't just completely picked on. And decent corners are hard to come by. That's why it is a C+. But it is quite a bit of money for a not-so-great corner. And also what he said about the Cowboys, which he didn't really direct it towards the Cowboys, but you could tell it was towards the Cowboys, is also very good. Christian Fulton, I realize now that one of these is wrong. He either signed 1 year 10 or 2 year 20. Either way, it's a C. It's an okay corner that you're getting for $10 million a year. I think it's a replaceable corner, a guy that shouldn't be getting paid $10 million. But the Chiefs, they need another DB. They get another one with McDuffie and Watson. You're going to want a third with McDuffie playing in the slot. I think it's a decent deal. Moving on to safety, Trayvon Moehrig, 3 years, 51, going to Carolina. This gets a B if Ejiro Evero, who I believe is the Panthers DC still, can use him well. This is going to be a very good pickup. Trayvon Moehrig can be a very decent player at times when you put him in the box. But yeah, I think that if he's used well, this can be a very good pickup. 17 mil did seem like a lot, though, when they signed him. Especially compared to Javon Holland, this gets an A- for the Giants. 3 years, 45 a year. The Giants, again, you have to overpay, guys. You didn't have to overpay here. For the guy who has my second-ranked free agent in the whole class, you're getting a very decent safety. You have a really good defense kind of building with Dexy, Brian Burns. You add Paulson Adebo. You already got a Okereke. Now you're getting Javon Holland. You got some pretty decent pieces in there. Cam Bynum, 4 years, 60. This gets a B, 15 mil a year. It's a lot of resources kind of going in there for the Colts, but Cam Bynum is a very decent player, a guy that makes plays kind of when you need those kind of plays, and also celebration coordinator, brings that energy to a Colts team that needs some energy. It's a B. Talanoa Hufanga, 3 years, $45 million. This gets a B+. If he works out, this is great. If he stays healthy, this is great for a Broncos D, where safety is kind of the only spot that they need a guy to a defense that was top 5 last year. I only see improving. This could be the best defense in the league, and Hufanga could be a big part of that if he stays healthy and if he is in that 2022-ish form. I just don't know if we're going to see that, though. That's why it's a B+. Justin Reed, 3 years, $33 to the Saints. This gets a C. And Saints, again, stop paying these guys who are old. Just go into a rebuild, and $11 million is quite a bit for a safety. He is a good safety, though, and so that's why it gets a C. Andre Cisco, a year, $10 million to the Jets. It gets a C-. I don't see what's great about Andre Cisco. He had that one pick six against the Eagles like 3 years ago. But yeah, I guess you get a starting safety. I just think it's $10 million is quite a bit for someone that I think you could get for less, or the same production for less, especially in the draft. The last person on this list, Jeremy Chin, 2 years, $16 million, the Raiders. This gets a B+. Jeremy Chin, he gets in there. He makes plays with the Commies. He made a lot of plays. And going to the Raiders, I think that they can move him around kind of like Morig. And I think that it's going to work out pretty well for them. They're getting a good defensive piece. I would have wanted the Raiders to make more moves, but this one is a good one. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If it makes you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see y'all in the next one, which will be either a post-free agency mock draft or grading teams' free agencies, just depending on if I feel like making one of them. Peace.